Yeah, great to be with you guys.
A lot of people have gotten a lot of things wrong when it comes to the coronavirus over the last now going on 17 months. When it comes to the good doctor, Dr. Anthony Fauci, unethical behavior, patient abuse, incompetence. Now, according to several state medical boards, those are all grounds for someone to lose their medical license. Do you think that Dr. Fauci falls into any of those categories?
I would say he falls in the category of not being a very trusted advisor, not being a very wise person, not showing very good judgment. So I wouldn't say we would remove his license. I would say we would remove him from a position of authority. So he shouldn't be leading the effort, mainly because he discounts one of the most important parts of science, which is natural immunity. About 100 million people have gotten COVID. 34 million people tested positive, but the CDC estimates that there is at the very least 2 more people for every person that tested positive that also had the disease. That's about 100 million people. If you discount that, then you make the wrong-headed public health decision that we must force vaccines on younger and younger people. They're now talking about going down to the age of 2. I suspect they'll go all the way down to newborns. The thing is it's not based on science. And looking at the evidence, it looks like we're reaching, if we haven't not already reached herd immunity, because the numbers are plummeting daily, both the numbers of people being infected and those dying. So really, I hopefully are beyond this now. There's no reason to be hysterical and force this on children, mandate it for school, because the thing is, for children, the bar is going to be much greater because children get almost no COVID symptoms. They rarely die from it. It's about 1 in a million. And so we're going to have to be even more stringent with proving the safety of the vaccine. If you're over 65, you know, it's about 2,000 people out of every million die instead of 1.
Yeah, and
so
this vaccine, Senator, this vaccine is not FDA approved.
For senior citizens.
Senator, you said 100 million people have had coronavirus in this country. I know that 200 million have had at least one shot of the virus. That's 300 million. That's the majority of the country right there. Why doesn't somebody tell that to Dr. Fauci?
Well, some have had both. Some have both had the disease and the vaccine, but we should study that also because we would want to know, is the vaccine more dangerous or are you more likely to have serious side effects? So there are rare side effects. Thrombocytopenia is one, a lowering of your platelets and bleeding. Myocarditis is another. Wouldn't we want to know if the symptoms are greater in people who have already had the disease when they're vaccinated? Maybe there could be a lower vaccine dose. Maybe there could be 1 dose. They've studied this in places like Israel and around the world, and 1 dose may be enough, but also maybe 0 doses is enough. But refusing to look at it is refusing to look at the science because to Dr. Fauci and most elitists, submission is more important than the science. So they're not obeying the science. They're obeying this sort of, desire that everybody be part of the hive, that everybody is part of the collective, and we're not going to look at your health care individually.
I want to remind our viewers that that's just not Senator Rand Paul, that's Dr. Rand Paul speaking, and so we appreciate that insight. Senator, I want to switch topics just a little bit. Afghan president is coming to the U.S., and obviously we've got his request is going to be clear. He's going to be asking for more U.S. troops. We've spent a long time thinking through how do you bring more troops home, how do you put America first. What are your thoughts on what the U.S. Should be saying to the Afghan president when he arrives?
I think most important thing about determining what we do for national defense is what is in our national defense. It isn't about nation building. It isn't about everyone else's problems, frankly. And it is also, we have to be concerned about the amount of money. We're spending $50 billion a year. It's one of the things I liked about President Trump is that he was concerned about the money we wasted over there that could have been spent more usefully here. But the thing is there will continue to be conflict. There will continue to be fighting in Afghanistan. But we've fought side by side with them for 20 years. We've given them $1 trillion in infrastructure spending. We've built their roads. We've built their schools. It's time for them to stand up for themselves. We cannot be their founding fathers. Our founding fathers stood up and fought for our country. They need a group of founding fathers that will stand up and fight for women's rights and for a more modern world. Those people do exist in Afghanistan, but we can't give it to them. They have to fight for it. We've done it long enough. It's time for them to stand up and do it on their own.
Senator, a quick final question here. When can we expect Dr. Fauci to return to Capitol Hill you have been one of the only people, if not the only person, holding his feet to the fire when it comes to asking him. And by the way, none of what you're asking him is that challenging. These are questions, people that are vaccine hesitant, we always hear that they're conservatives. Dr. Fauci refuses to come on and join us here on Newsmax. He should be reaching out to conservative TV networks, conservative newspapers, conservative magazines, trying to overcome that hurdle. When can we expect him back on Capitol Hill?
I'm told that the health committee that I'm on in the Senate, a big, powerful committee, that the Democrats are going to allow an investigation of the origins of Wuhan. I would think he would come back for that because there are some important discrepancies. He said that they did not fund gain-of-function research in the Wuhan lab. The author of the paper, the scientist from the Wuhan lab, says the opposite. She says in her paper she got the money from Dr. Fauci, from the NIH, and then she also says that they experiments showed that they could take a virus and make it more dangerous in humans. That's in her conclusions. So something's wrong here. Something's amiss, and he should have to explain himself.
Senator Rand Paul, so nice having you on. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks for joining us.
To clarify, by the way, the vaccines were approved for emergency use authorization.
Arizonans need leaders they can trust. We need leaders with integrity and